Okay, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here today. This is the Center for Work and Family Life, Thriving Thursday, and we are launching this new year on the first Thursday of each month to really share with you, ideas for health and well-being, and to really support us all as we further along on our venture looking forward. I have titled often, this is Living a New Outlook. We are in an extraordinary time where we are growing and learning every day. And so as we venture into this new year, I think we are hearing pretty often that message of hope. And that hope is really what we're bringing to our new outlook as we move forward. So our thought for the day is from Emily Dickinson, and it is, hope is a thing with feathers. It perches in the soul and sings the tune without words and never stops at all. And I sort of visualize this relentlessness, this perseverance, this sense of energy and spirit moving forward. And that's what we're doing in our culture here at the university, where we're achieving our excellence with integrity and diversity and inclusion and well-being and using accountability and open communication. We really are building that momentum. So let's go forward and think about, well, how do we want to refuel? How do we want to further this progression forward? So, thank you for doing that. So refueling our strength with grit. This is really the source of what we're going to talk about. Grit came from that concept that was researched by Angela Duckworth, who was from the University of Pennsylvania. And she coined this phrase and felt that it really captured what was it that really propelled and created achievement in education, in our career life. And so we're going to utilize what she has learned from this and share it along the way. And as we've talked about in the past, we know that if we're going to have perseverance and we're going to have, that energy to go forward and endure, we need to connect with our positive replenishment. And we've said and we've heard in many different arenas that it is compassion for ourselves and others. It is respect for ourselves and others. It is kindness for ourselves and others. Integrity for ourselves and others. Caring for ourselves and others. And hope. Hope for all. So this is where we begin to replenish and begin to see, how do we actually live these values? How do we want to bring them into our way of life? So the goal today, we're going to talk about endurance, because part of the grit is resilience. She found that there were some key elements in what it was that helped us with being able to move forward in a positive way. Perseverance, hardiness, ambition, self-control, a need to achieve. So many of these things you can find out about. She has great TED Talks and a book that you can fulfill. But I want us to begin to think about, how and what is that in yourself? Where do you find that? So I want us to begin to look at how we tap into that powerful desire and passion, because that's really in the fuel of what we do. So take a moment and think about something that you just did not give up on. It's really about how we connect with what is that propelled you forward, that no matter what, you were going to fulfill. And when you think about that, consider, how did you keep going? How did you persevere in those moments? How did it happen that nothing got in your way? of fulfilling that. And even when you knew there might be challenges or that it would be hard, you would go forward anyway, and you would continue to persevere. Now I'm going to give an example, and it's kind of a lighthearted one, and I will beg forgiveness from Julie for my choices. But when I first got to LA, I heard about the Donut Man, and I heard about these amazing strawberry-filled donuts that were incredible, and that I just thought, wow, I really have to experience this. Is really, true LA, and I wanted to learn from that experience. So I just decided I'm going to have to find this and experience what this is about. And so I knew, okay, I was going to have to face travel, and it was in the season of the year when it had started becoming quite warm, and we had started the pandemic, and we were in this environment. So I knew we would have to face travel, and yes, upon arrival, there it was, a very long line in the bright sun, and we had to wait, and we had to have our good social distancing. And so yet there was that belief that I needed to experience this from LA, and therein discovered. And what was it? That there was some positive things there. There's camaraderie in the line. There's space that are acknowledging that you need from one another. It's realizing that you're all seeking the same enjoyment, and there was something about that, and it kept our optimism. And finally we had patience for letting the next person in line get as much as they wanted to have in order to fulfill what they needed, because it would soon be my turn. Now this is sort of, a lighthearted example, but there are times when we just know that's something we want to pursue, we want to go after. And therein is remembering that, we've done hard work before, and we've been challenged by circumstances and situations. And so we have achieved. So ultimately, it's really bringing about that growth mindset, that sense of, okay, I'm not there yet, I'm going to make it, and I will get through whatever it takes to do so. And this is really sort of the heart of what propels and grows that grit within. So think about it. Think about whether it's a marathon or boot camp or searching for a degree or fulfilling a new job. There is a passion inside that is being fulfilled. Bottom line, from Angela Duckworth's research, it's effort. It's willingness to put in the effort. So let's go forward. Much of what she was asked over the years was, well, is this something we just have, or can we actually grow it and cultivate it within ourselves? And her answer was yes. You absolutely can cultivate this kind of grit in your life. So these were those elements that helped to really grow and cultivate that. So again, let's take a moment and think about something that starts with pursuing your true interest, your true passion, what you really, really love. If there's something within you that you just know you are going to go for it, no matter what. And many elements of that discovery happen. It can be travel, it can be culture, it can be art, it can be family, it can be experiences. So knowing that within you, that just is an essential experience that you know you want to have. And comes with, a belief in yourself, that with that kind of focus, that you will make it so. So that's part of launching. Where do you want to put this energy? Knowing that you have something within, your forte, your signature contribution. My husband's a journalist, and many times when he's meeting people for the first time, he'll say, what is your gift to the world? What is it that you bring that's special and unique and something that you will have to move forward. So like anything, encouragement to practice. Once you have really landed on what this means, how you would want to move forward, it really is about building the practice. And just as a sidebar, oftentimes when we get into a practice, know that emotionally and neurologically, we are really gaining an attachment. We are gaining an attachment to something that's growing and creating from within. So that you really are going to see that those steps forward to it are an accomplishment. They're a priority. We begin to plan. And think of this in terms of, even if it were travel, a place you've always wanted to go, something you've always wanted to experience. So the actual moment of it is not just arriving, it's everything that goes along in creating that attachment to the vision of where that is going. So that learning is fun and it's exciting. And that's when we light up. That's when they say, this is activating the best of our neurochemistry. We are thinking and experiencing and anticipating something new. So these are ways in which we can cultivate and kind of grow that energy toward grit and endurance. So how does that further? Well, yes, we further with connecting to a higher purpose. If it were travel, we would be longing to experience something new, a new culture, a new visual experience, a learning of history, a connecting with people, connecting with something that you'd never experienced before. The Greater Good Science Center encourages us to find our visual awe. How can we create something new that creates something that energizes and gives us a sense of awe? So our values come through in that. It means we're willing to have courage for adventure, or openness to learn from others, or appreciate not only our own talents, but that's of others, and connecting with things that we want to do. We visualize an outcome and imagine, wow, what that would be like to be there. I think we've all done that when we've gotten through school and we've thought, okay, when I'm finished, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how it's going to happen. And we know along the way that there still may be some challenge, but that's where we cultivate the hope. We really take that challenge, and we know there'll always be a solution. Sometimes a solution that is an unexpected benefit, or something we didn't know would be even better. So it's actually letting ourselves fulfill that positive thinking, that sense of optimism, that we're going to be propelled forward to what is possible. And therein, what happens? We have an adventure, we have an experience, we create an accomplishment, and there we share our story. And I really think that's sort of more the way we complete this, because we are social, we are a part of community. And from the beginning of time, we're always sort of telling our story. Let me tell you what happened. I had to do this, and I went there, and then I found that. And we create connection and empathy from sharing our story. One of the most inspiring sort of sources for that is StoryCorps. If you've ever heard about that through the National Public Radio, StoryCorps tells great adventures of families. And it's a really lovely way of saying, yeah, we're all connected. So as we move forward, how did this concept of grit grow? And other authors and other researchers came about after this and really said, yes, you can continue your growth in developing grit. This individual was doing a lot of research in the field of sports and coaching, and found that these were key elements in order to propel forward. And really, how much of this is very much the same language, the same values, the same intentions. We're coming up with really solid principles that we can just continue and apply in many, many areas. Oftentimes we wonder, we're just going through something because it's the thing to do, but understanding your why is it that that's something you really long to fulfill and want to pursue? That it really has that sense of greater good, purpose in what you are after. That really a key element that you'll find in many, many arenas is how we talk to ourselves. How are we relating to ourselves? Are we keeping our encouragement positive? Are we beginning to be our own positive self, coach within to encourage? To be aware and conscious of our thoughts. Because it's not like we aren't going to have moments where we might catch ourselves thinking in one direction or another. But it's knowing that that becomes the challenge that we want to take on. To stay in the moment. To look for moments of positive experiences. You know, many times we're socially distant and we're not able, we're sort of longing for those times of gatherings and getting along. And sometimes we have to create sort of new, gentler, smaller ones. Maybe it's chatting with the person at the checkout stand, or helping someone in the grocery store, or it's looking at one another and just knowing, nodding, that we understand what this is like and we can relate to the experience. So those are those ways that we can create positive moments of connection everywhere we go. Again, knowing who you are, being authentic. I think there's wonderful practices for getting in touch with yourself and learning to let mistakes happen, that we learn from them, and then we let go. And we look at it as that growth mindset, that we're on the path, always continuing to improve. And this is what I hear a lot, you know, that what do we do when it feels like it's uncomfortable or it doesn't feel? And ironically, I think that's the sign that says positive growth is underway. If positive growth wasn't underway and if we weren't, you know, breaking ground in new places and new things, we wouldn't feel uncomfortable. We are. It's a natural developmental stage of where we are growing forward. So seeing it not as a negative, but as something that says, I'm growing, I'm doing something new, it's advancing forward. So with that, I'd like to sort of leave these concepts with you and venture into, you know, a bit of a summary for us now. This is an incredible month. It's Black History Month. We're seeing so many beautiful stories and representations of growth and perseverance and strength and courage in so many ways. And it is also our International Boost Self-Esteem Month. So actually these core elements really fit with what we want to see in our future as growing our own grit for endurance. And as again, as you see, the same messaging, you know, avoiding the self-talk that is negative or very critical, letting yourself be learning from everything that you do. Celebrate what you're good at, enjoy it, share it, celebrate what that is. And knowing that what you want to improve is a strength. And when we do a lot of our coaching, we're looking at, you know, that trajectory toward where do you want to grow you? What do you want to feel better and stronger from within? So prep each day with positive energy, whether that's thinking, exercise, nourishment, you know, support, connection, reading, and fulfill that whole side of yourself that is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. It's exercising is energizing. It does kind of boost us. our thinking, our oxygen. And when we set our goals, we can let every step along the way be that success toward that. And giving toward others is also a gift for self. Complimenting others, noticing the positive, seeing that even in the midst of something that was challenging, there was something positive that could be recognized and acknowledged. So we look for the best in others, because that is in truth what we would like to be seen for as well, the best of who we are. Take time to see your talents as treasures and how you protect them and how you nurture them. So I've done a lot of sharing, and I'd like to open up if anyone has any thoughts or comments or points of they would like to share along the way. We have a few things in our chat, and if Susan wants to share what they are, we can read them. Okay. If we don't have anything, please don't hesitate. For my last slide, I'd like to just remind how we gain support for all of you, and that's a perfect question, and I can share that in our very next slide, because this is where we can offer, much support in many ways. The Center for Work and Family Life, and we offer the confidential counseling for all, and this means that we are licensed, we are preserving your privacy, we're preserving all of your need to make sure you have the most confidential and safe environment to share with whatever you may need. So again, never hesitate. Call if you have questions. Ask whatever you might need. Never too early, never too late. These sessions that we have are cost-free. We are an independent benefit, and we are conducting all of our sessions on Zoom and by phone right now. And certainly in time, as we might venture all the ways back to this, we can anticipate a time when we can meet face-to-face again. Go on our website. We have wonderful wellness talks. We have Parent Connect with one of our counselors, Jessica. We have webinars coming along with our well-being coordinators. So we really hope and encourage that you reach out anytime for any reason. We will be there.